Three.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome to the America Saves program, Financial Wellness in the Workplace, free savings programs for your employees. I'm Carolyn Pemberton, and as you all know, America Saves is the leading national voice in promoting savings. And today we have with us two experts to talk about workplace savings initiatives. Joining us is Samantha Melting, Senior Vice President and Head of Consumer Bank with Synchrony. In this position, Samantha is responsible for business strategy, growth, and leadership. Her focus and passion are on delivering competitive deposit solutions that help consumers achieve financial wellness through transformative, innovative, and practical approaches. Samantha has over 26 years of experience in the financial services industry. Mike Jackson is the Manager of Employee Experience with the Society of Human Resource Management, which is the world's largest human resources association. In his role, Mike oversees employee relations and engagement for SHRM's 400-plus global staff and is responsible for reinforcing a positive, impactful employee experience. Previously, Mike held numerous operations and communications positions in the private sector. So thank you both for joining us today. So let's begin our conversation with our first question and talk about how your companies encourage your employees to save automatically, prepare financially for emergencies, and why this is a part of your corporate culture. And if you can also address how the current COVID-19 situation has changed or impacted what you are communicating to your employees about saving for emergencies. Samantha, let's start with you.
Great, thank you for having me. I am very excited to be here today, and talking about saving is important all the time, and especially the roles that employers play in this. My company in particular is focused on the physical, the mental, and the financial well-being of its employees. And to that end, we offer a variety of comprehensive programs designed to support employees in that way throughout the year. We also support America Saves Week because it's a fantastic opportunity to really bring saving to the forefront of conversations around finances during that week, and to do it along with other institutions across the country. So one of the things that we have done at my company to promote the importance of savings is really to talk about ways to get started, and then what are those programs that are available through our employer to support employees. One of the first ones is Split to Save. I mean, this is a fantastic opportunity for employees to pay themselves first. And one of the tips that I often share with people is when you do pay yourself first, like the Split to Save program, where a portion's going into your checking and a portion's going into your savings, that yeah, maybe in the beginning you'll know it's gone, you'll feel it, but very quickly you'll realize that you really don't miss the money anymore. And before you know it, you've built up this nest egg, this emergency fund in your savings account, because you've moved that money out of your everyday spending account and it's protected. The other is that we offer a special employee savings rate so that employees can open a savings account with my company and receive a higher rate. So they're actually contributing to their balances more quickly over time. And then of course, there are 401k programs, and we implemented a special new feature, which is the 1% bump up, which is great because it's back to that kind of set it and forget it and automatic savings that really is so effective for so many people. So when an employee is setting up their direct deposit, this program will automatically bump it up 1% every year, so that one, it's happening automatically, and it's getting the employee closer to being able to receive that company match without actually having to do anything on their own. It's all automatic, and that's really a fantastic way to establish that behavior of saving. And then another piece that's really important is financial education. And so that's happening on site, but also across digital channels, so that it's available for employees when they're at work, but it's also available for employees when they're not at work. And they're having a particular thought in their mind about how they want to handle a particular financial situation, that they can access that information from home. I think a lot of employers are focused on encouraging employees to contribute to their 401ks. But what I've learned is that employees struggle with starting not only to save for retirement, but also on managing the day-to-day. So how do they establish an emergency fund? How do they pay off debt? How can they manage all of this at the same time? And so one thing that my company has done this year is we really focus on a balanced approach that focused on how do we help employees on the day-to-day basis? How do we help them make those changes now to understand how they can start an emergency fund or how start to tackle the debt that they're facing while also saving for retirement. And that balanced approach has been really successful for us and has really helped employees. I also think it's important to ensure that we're having very open dialogue about saving, about financial struggles without the shame that some might feel about progress they're making toward their own goals. And sometimes these topics are really overwhelming. And so we needed to provide really easy to access resources that also infuse a bit of fun into the topics of savings and financial conversations. And so we do this through daily newsletters with links to our programs and our education, and on-site events like a pop-up banking center, financial wellness seminars, games, and prizes. And so this has been a really successful way for us to help employees, not only help them understand what's available, but also encourage them to have dialogue about what they need help with and how they can access that information and those products and resources as well. So thank you for the question. I really appreciate it.
Great, and just, and in terms of following up, I think, Samantha, the items that you said really do resonate. And from my experience here at SHRM and with our employees around the world, as well as working with over 300,000 HR professionals around the world, a lot of the core themes that you've hit upon are very similar to what we've been seeing. And so one of the SHRM, does a lot of research into different aspects of the world of work. And one of the things that we do every year is an employee benefits summary, which if none of you have seen, take a look at shrm.org. It's a great resource to see what companies are doing in the range of, a whole range of benefits related items, including in the financial area and in terms of savings and retirement. But, it's very clear through the research that a lot of the employers, see and understand that financial and retirement and investment resources and retirement resources are critical for employers, or for employees, excuse me. But the trick is, again, finding the range of tools and resources beyond just the traditional 401k to really meet employees where they're at. And Samantha made a great point with employees. We're dealing with people at all ends of the spectrum. We have people new to their careers who are looking to figure out how to begin those fundamental pieces of savings, not only for retirement, but also for that rainy day fund, and then also people at the other end who are getting close to retirement, figuring out sort of how to start beginning that transition, and everywhere in between. And so having a range of resources and tools to be able to meet people where they're at is absolutely critical. And I think, as Samantha mentioned, there's not a one-size-fits-all approach. I think there's a range of tools that we do, and we do a lot of the very similar things that Samantha mentioned here at SHRM. We do have the 1% bump up every year, which has been a very successful tool for us in terms of putting into place, a module to be able to help increase employees with their savings, to be able to, to help foster that within the organization. We also were a very strong participant in America Saves Week, and that was a very strong, initiative for us this year with a range of educational resources, connecting with vendors. And for us, one of the things we did this year was a financial wellness fair this year, to be able to, and we had about 30% of our employees come in, on a Friday morning, which for us, was a great turnout on a Friday morning for people coming in to meet with various vendors and experts to be able to talk about their financial wellness. And so, so providing different ways to educate those tools. Webinars are another great resource, particularly when you have staff around the country, or in our case, around the world, being able to provide resources to encourage financial wellness. And being able to provide them the tools there. And so I think, again, with the question, I think it's a mix of of policies, procedures, but also at learning and development. These educational tools are a critical piece for the success. And and this is something that really, from my experience, has to be an organizational priority to be able to, again, look at wellness as being holistic for the employee. So, and having financial as a critical piece of that, because as we're seeing right now with the current environment, the financial piece, is critical for the overall well-being and has an impact on employees. And particularly right now in the current environment, and with unemployment, continuing to increase significantly, this is something at top of mind for many of our employees. And so providing them the tools to not only help them, manage here and now, but also look ahead to the future, is absolutely critical. And as employers, our role is to help to provide the resources and tools to our employees to be able to help them navigate the current, but then also look to the future as well.
Great. Well, thank you both, Samantha and Mike, for those comments. I think we would agree with just about everything that you said. I think, the combination of action, tools, and resources is vital in reaching employees, and the way you talked about communicating with employees. All of those pieces really play a significant role in helping employees. And I know America Saves, for a long time, we have believed that employers can play a critical role in their employees' financial well-being. Employees look to their employers for resources and guidance and trust, and a trusted source. So I think you two have both provided great examples of how employers can do that. And Samantha, I appreciate you mentioning Split to Save. And just to give a little bit more background on that, it is a program free to employers, and it's built on the concept of direct deposit, and it encourages employees to save automatically through split deposit, as Samantha said, splitting their pay into two accounts, with one being a dedicated savings account. And we work with employers to help them implement it and communicate that out to their employees as a way that they can save and prepare themselves for financial emergencies, as well as other goals. So that is a very strong focus for us. So let's move on to our second question, which is, when the economy begins to recover after the COVID-19 crisis, what recommendations would you make to employers, based on your own experiences, to help them establish programs to help their employees financially? And Samantha, let's start with you again.
Yeah, I think it's important for employers to recognize that employees are impacted in a variety of ways. For some, yes, they still are employed, they still have the job with that employer, but a spouse or another family member may be impacted. And so, and it's interesting as this starts to play out, because even now I'm seeing this play out in the workplace, that employees are dealing with a lot of different stressors. It's not only the stress of money, but it's the stress of working in different environments, because many are now working from home, whereas they may have been working on site. Some are seeing those around them lose their jobs or change jobs. And so it's not only a conversation that we need to have about finances, but it is also about how do we support our employees in terms of their physical and their mental wellness as well. And so I think in terms of the financial wellness, it's a lot of what I've already mentioned. It's reminding employees of the programs that are available. And what's important is taking that first step. So no matter how small it may seem, taking a first step toward financial wellness is critical. And again, the Split to Save program is a great way to start, setting a goal and then taking actions toward that goal. What I often will tell people too, especially right now, is if you're using your emergency fund, that's what it's for. There's no shame in actually using your savings right now to help you cover some of those costs, because that's exactly what it's for. When we get through this, then you have to talk about how do you rebuild, how do you reestablish or continue those savings behaviors so that you can rebuild your emergency fund, so that you're prepared for the next type of circumstances that might happen. It's also important to continue to promote the financial wellness and the program resources throughout the year to employees. So again, financial education, hardship. What are the hardship programs that are available? I get this question a lot actually from employees, especially those that are dealing with debt and they're not really sure how to cover those debt payments, that there are a lot of hardship programs that are available today through a variety of different creditors and banks that they should be raising their hand and saying, I'm looking for help. How can you help me? And oftentimes I'm finding some of these employees won't raise their hand and ask for help. And that becomes really important because if you don't do that, they won't know. And this will get you into a worse situation financially if you're not upfront about asking for help. The other is that ensuring that employees have a resource for one-on-one financial counseling, and again, access to the hardship programs. Oftentimes I will find that employees are grateful that the resources are available, but they feel like it's not really tailored to what they need, and that their situation is unique, and they want someone that they can talk to one-on-one about what would make sense for them and what are the resources and the products and tools that are best suited to help them accomplish their goal. And so I think that's a one that I would absolutely advocate for, is how can you provide some type of a resource to that employee that gives them that one-on-one coaching to help them with their specific need in particular.
Great. Well, thank
Absolutely.
you.
And if I could build upon that, I think that is an amazing point. And what we've seen through SHRM research is that there's a lot of room for employers to really increase their offerings and support in this areas. In our most recent employee benefits survey, only 36% of employers surveyed offered some sort of non-retirement financial advice to their employees, and only 57% offered retirement advice, to their employees. There's a lot of opportunity here for companies to be able to leverage, the partnerships that they have with their benefits providers, with other stakeholders, to be able to add more of these resources, to be able to, to help meet the employees where they're at. And so I think, regardless of the size of your company, whether you're a Fortune 500 or a very small to medium-sized enterprise, there is an opportunity. And again, it's leveraging the resources that you have, to be able to, and, both in your community as well as your existing relationships, or through organizations like America Saves, to be able to really create a tool of resources to be able to, to help support your employees. I think, I think in terms of this question of looking ahead, I think for employers, there's a couple of key things to keep in mind. I think first, they, really need to look at, the culture that you're building within the organization, and making sure that, as Samantha mentioned before, and that I mentioned earlier, that financial wellness is part of overall wellness, and that this is one of the critical pieces for the employee experience, because the personal and the professional are interconnected, and giving them the tools and support to have that financial security, and the understanding to be able to navigate, their financial health is absolutely critical. And so I think, and that can really go a long way. I think the second piece is, again, to be able to, build out those educational tools and think about the infrastructure that you can put into place for the future, but also even now, I think there are tangible things that you can do. And just to give one example, one of the things that we're, currently working on with our employees is trying to find different ways to, to encourage overall wellness during this period of telework, during this period of telework related to COVID-19. And one of those periods that, again, we're looking at it, is a holistic approach. And so we're including financial as well as emotional and physical. So again, there are things you can do as you're doing your employee engagement right now to encourage your folks to, to be able to include that financial health as part of that. And so, a lot of this, of what we're talking about, is also future looking, but there are tangible things here and now that you can tap into in terms of resources or ideas to be able to provide support now, even in the midst of the current situation.
Great. Well, thank you, Mike and Samantha. You both raised terrific points, and I think give some great guidance to employers. I think the whole idea of financial wellness being a larger part of overall wellness is just critically important to understand for all of us. And I think I'm so glad that you raised that point. And I also think, Mike, you were right, talking about what they can do now, even little things, and Samantha raising the point about how important it is to use the savings. If you've accumulated emergency savings, now's the time to use it. If you need it, you should feel good that you've got the ability to fall back on those resources. And as you said, there's no shame in using that money. So I think those are all very valid points. Well, thank you both, Samantha and Mike, for joining me and joining America Saves and our audience today. I'm very confident that those who are watching will find your experiences and your recommendations helpful as they work to build workplace savings programs for their employees. And we certainly appreciate your leadership in this area and your partnership with America Saves, and for sharing all of this information with us today. And so with that, I will say goodbye and to have a great day to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.